Why my best friend's wedding made me cry. I stood in a tux I couldn't afford, holding a bombshell voicemail. The restroom's soft jazz didn't cover the faucet's persistent drip or the throat scratch of cologne I borrowed from the groom's suite. My face looked older than 32 under the strip lights, like the mirror had finally stopped flattering me for Maya's sake. I pressed the phone to my ear again, even though I knew every pause and inhale now. Alex, it's Priya. The message began, her voice thin with decision. You don't know me, but you need to see something before the vows. I had come to celebrate my best friend's big day. Instead, I was rehearsing the sentence that could end it. Maya and I grew up next door, sharing lunches and report cards, the same hand-me-down paperbacks. We promised to show up for milestones, graduations, funerals, the first apartment with mice, the tattoo I backed out of, the one she didn't. You're my permanent person, she once said, digging her pinky into mine. Today I was supposed to be a quiet corner in her joy. I'm a library tech. I believe in records, dates, traceable truth. And I keep my head down. But my eyes burned when the voicemail mentioned a notarized letter. There's a special kind of heat when you realize the story you're in has a chapter no one told you about. Outside, a saxophonist practiced a run in the hall as guests wove bouquets through pictures on easels. Jordan's grin stared from half the frames. Movie star teeth, careful stubble, arm around Maya like she made him taller. He'd always been kind to me in public, the way a man is kind to a dog he doesn't want to own. I slipped my phone into my jacket, heard fabric strain at the seam. One message shouldn't have this much gravity, but it dragged every old promise toward a cliff. I love Maya, and that love was already threaded through the place cards and rented linens. Destroying this would destroy us. But letting it proceed felt like letting a splinter fester to bone. The voicemail said I could stop the wedding with one sentence. Maya and I used to build castles from cardboard, crowns from soda tabs. In high school, when I got pneumonia, she smuggled lemon ice past a snoring nurse. We invented a ritual before scary things. Count to 5, say the truth, then act. You first, she would say. I never minded going first until Jordan arrived at a rooftop party with a bottle of Prosecco and that mild, assessing gaze. He bought our table fries. He learned my schedule before he knew my favorite author. Your friend's steady, he told Maya, as if I couldn't hear. Steady is great, very supportive. Supportive became the flag he planted in my yard. I kept their spreadsheets tidy when they merged households, researched venues, vetted caterers by reading health inspection reports. I offered, mostly, because it meant I could keep watching Maya's shoulders drop when details worked. Last month I told her I was uneasy about how Jordan handled the guest list. He'd bumped 3 of her coworkers to make room for his boss's cousins. She laughed it off, brushed my worry aside, and tugged on my sleeve. Alex, this is diplomacy, not a coup, she said. We're fine. Promise. We no longer counted to 5 together. At the rehearsal, I went to place my name card at the front pew. The wedding planner gently redirected me to row 3. Bridal request, she said, eyes kind, voice careful. I swallowed pride like a dry pill and told myself it was nothing. Then, during toasts, Jordan thanked everyone who's always been there for Maya. He added, some people support quietly in the background, like Alex. Chuckles. I lifted my glass and pretended the word didn't land like an assignment. When we hugged goodnight, Maya pressed her chin to my shoulder. You know my heart, she whispered. Thank you for understanding. Understanding what, though, and for how long? Maya swore loyalty, but my name vanished from her plans. The banquet room had dark wood panels and a chandelier shaped like a frozen fountain. The seating chart was displayed on a towering acrylic board, white ink curling in elegant loops. I scanned for Alex and found it, then noticed the ghostly line of an earlier placement under the final swirl, as if the planner had corrected in a hurry. A faint streak of solvent cut through the varnish where my name once belonged nearer the front. Just aesthetics, the planner said when I hesitated. Balance. I nodded, then saw a duplicate card face down on a side table, a corner bent like it had been rescued from a bin. I picked it up, hoping to laugh at myself. The card was heavier stock than mine, printed a week earlier. The date stamp on the back gave it away, a standard for organized vendors. My card stamp was yesterday. Who changes a friend's seating the day before? The band soundchecked a Motown standard. In a mirror, Jordan adjusted his cufflinks, practicing a smile that ended right at the eyes. You good, man? He asked. It's a lot, I know. Big day. He squeezed my shoulder as if to guide me back into the correct outline. We're lucky to have you. Lucky like a man is lucky to have a steady fence. When I set the bent card down, a smear of wine had dried across the script. I could see a second name under mine, like the ghost of a replacement, before the ink bled into a bruise. A woman I didn't recognize brushed past and said, "Congratulations," to me, like I was collecting compliments on his behalf. Outside, a courier wheeled boxes labeled emergency umbrellas in case the park photos met sudden rain. I told myself to breathe, to count to 5, to trust the plan. The plan, however, seemed to exist only for keeping me quiet and useful. Then I found my place card, crossed out, smeared with wine. At the rehearsal dinner, Jordan's college friend raised a glass and told a cute story about that time Maya's guardian angel pulled strings to save her. The table laughed. My fork paused. Alex literally saved Maya's butt, he added, by being dependable when it counted. Jordan slid in with a grin. He's our ballast. Everyone laughed louder. I smiled like it was my line. Later, by the valet stand, a stranger in a raincoat drifted near me, eyes steady. He pressed a folded note into my palm with a nod I felt in my ribs. From Priya, he murmured. Photo team. Inside my car, I unfolded the paper. 3 lines. Check your email. Subject. Contract release. Look at the timestamp on the HR response from 2 years ago, Tuesday, 11:41 p.m. Ask Maya why. My stomach remembered the exact night. I had an offer then, a better job across town, full-time benefits, weekends free. The offer vanished overnight with a vague HR message about reference alignment. The email had read, "We appreciate your time." No explanation. I didn't tell Maya because we were already celebrating her promotion. Losing that chance pushed me into a second job and bled my savings dry. Diplomacy, she would have called it. Back at the venue, I searched my inbox on my phone. The old HR thread glowed up like a lighthouse in a storm. The timestamp, Tuesday, 11:41 p.m. 2 minutes later, another thread popped up, an automated credit monitoring alert. I had deleted it then, exhausted and embarrassed. Now I tapped through, pulse loud. A new account inquiry at 11:43 p.m. Same date. My address. A name partially redacted by the service, JND. I stared until the letters swam. The note said, "Ask why your job offer died on Tuesday." Air tasted metallic when I stepped outside. The hotel's loading dock hummed behind tall hedges, a reverse heartbeat, and I counted pallets to keep my hands from shaking. Our college friends clustered near the heaters, half drunk, brilliant with nostalgia. When they spotted me, their faces rearranged into party shapes. Someone clapped my back. "Alex, you legend," he said. "Always calm." I could not remember the last time I felt calm. The elevator dinged, opened on Aunt Ruth, dressed in navy like seriousness with nice earrings. She had been my neighbor too once, then the woman who taught Maya and me how to iron shirts and write thank you notes. "What's wrong with your face?" she asked, zeroing in with love that never pretended. I handed her the note, my phone, my fear. She read, sked, scrolled with her thumb like she was flipping a prayer book. "Truth," she said, as if greeting an old acquaintance. "Evidence." She handed me a mint. And breath. We stood there, heaters ticking, while laughter spilled from the ballroom and Jordan's voice rose in a practiced welcome. "If this is a misunderstanding," I said, though we both heard the lie, "I could ruin everything for nothing." Aunt Ruth looked at the ballroom door, like she could see through wood. "Alex, weddings are not sacred if they are built on theft," she said softly. "They are costumes." A server walked by with a tray of tiny quiches, steam in their wake. "Don't run," she added. "Running makes cowards look noble. Breathe, verify, then decide." Every word felt like a handrail I didn't know I needed. In my pocket, the phone buzzed again. "Priya, I'm in the coat room by the chapel. Bring Ruth if you trust her." I wiped my eyes. "I'm not crying," I said, which is what everyone says when crying. Aunt Ruth asked, "Are you crying from love or from fear?" The chapel corridor was cooler than the rest of the hotel, stone underfoot, air that smelled faintly of wax and dust. Priya stood near a coat rack with garment bags swaying like tall ghosts. She wore a camera on a harness and determination on her jaw. "I'm not here to ruin anything," she said before I spoke. I'm here because integrity matters more than tips. She handed me her phone. An audio file waited under the title, May 23rd, 11:40 p.m. The date speared me. We tapped play. Jordan's voice, unhurried. You'll make the call? A second voice, the kind HR keeps for liability, replied. We cannot discuss this. Paper rustled, a zipper hissed. Jordan again. This is about alignment, not competence. He's steady where we need flexibility. He'll be fine where he is. Silence. Then the HR voice. We can't accept character assessments from non-official references. A chair creaked. Jordan, I'm the fiancé. Soon. We're optimizing Maya's support system. He can't leave her right now. The timer rolled forward. Aunt Ruth's fingers tightened around my sleeve. Priya's thumb hovered above pause, but didn't press it. Where did you get this? I whispered. Priya made a face. I was shooting a brand event downstairs that night, she said. A hot mic caught this in the anteroom. I sat on it until I realized what he did with your credit, too. My throat closed. My credit. Priya opened an email. Subject, and signed cosigner, approved pending. Address fields showed my apartment, my phone number, the exact trailing digits of my driver's license. The applicant, unreadable in the preview, but the metadata bled truth. Pull the full header, Aunt Ruth said, surprising us both. She had worked at a county office once. She knows paper trails like recipes. Priya swiped to reveal server paths, IPs, timecodes. The voice memo timestamp matched the night my future disappeared. Priya and Aunt Ruth flanked me like bookends as I called my old landlord from the corridor. Speakerphone balanced on my palm. You moved out the week after that Tuesday, he said, rustling papers I could picture, the manila folders he never upgraded. Mail kept coming for you, and for a household member I didn't recognize. I returned it to sender. He read an address label with my name and a second name beneath. Jordan's, abbreviated with the same initials I'd glimpsed on the credit alert. Odd, he added. I thanked him, throat raw. Then I opened my archived HR exchange and forwarded it to myself, to Aunt Ruth, to a new folder named Truth. We walked to the photo staging area in the city park. The bridal party clustered around a marble fountain, jackets off, laughter bright. Priya scrolled through her camera roll and showed me a candid from 2 years ago. Maya and Jordan on a bench behind this same fountain, his jaw tense, her eyes glassy. The timestamp was the night of the hot mic. I zoomed in. A manila envelope peeked from Maya's tote bearing a notary stamp visible even in blur. You said notarized letter in your voicemail. I whispered. Priya nodded. I saw her sign something then, she said. Didn't mean much until your name kept appearing under theirs. Aunt Ruth rested a hand on my back. We need a sequence, she said. Offer rescinded at 11:41 p.m. Credit inquiry at 11:43 p.m. Park photo earlier that evening. Notary stamp sometime around dusk. She looked at me. If he rerouted a debt through your identity and torpedoed your job to keep you nearby, that's structure, not chaos. Structure felt crueler than chaos. Chaos forgives. Structure plans. I pulled up my credit report and found the loan. 5 figures, opened the same week, address at my place, payments irregular, then current. Someone was feeding it quietly. I breathed in cold air and realized the fountain's spray sounded like applause. The applause sounded like a countdown I couldn't pause. The what arrived in layers, not lightning. A banking app one barely used still remembered the branch manager who once helped my mother close an account. I called. She picked up. We spoke years ago, I said, explaining the loan. She asked for verification, then lowered her voice. There's a linked application that was initially flagged for an unsigned cosigner, she said. It was later cleared after a notary confirmation was uploaded. My tongue felt too big. Whose ID? I asked. Yours, she said. Driver's license ends in 1149, issued at the Midtown DMV. I hadn't been to the Midtown DMV in 3 years. Priya's eyes snapped to mine. I photographed Maya at the Midtown DMV for a sponsorship shoot once, she said, scrolling for proof. Up came an image of Maya on a bench, sunlight on her shoulder, captioned with a brand tag. The date matched the notary week. Evidence whispered. I felt shouted at. Aunt Ruth exhaled. Mechanism, she said. We have it. The Y curled unseen, a snake under a warm rock. I tried to picture Maya walking into a bank with my name in her mouth, shaking when she signed. Was she desperate? Did she ask Jordan to stop? Or did they tell themselves I was steady enough to carry the secret weight? A text pinged from an unknown number. You're about to embarrass yourself. Be smart. We're family now. Jordan, or his echo. I typed nothing. A hummingbird sketched frantic loops over a bed of peonies, then vanished, leaving the flowers to manage their own beauty. I remembered the first day Maya met Jordan. She'd said her heartbeat slowed in a good way, like a metronome. Maybe that's why I hadn't pressed harder. I wanted her steady. If steadiness cost me a career and a cosign I never approved, steadiness had become a kind of theft. I stared at the chapel door and knew the stakes were no longer private. I made a folder of screenshots, the HR timestamps, the loan summary, the DMV date from Priya's camera roll, the bank manager's follow-up email formalizing our call. Aunt Ruth added a handwritten list. Who knew what and when, where the documents lived, what a judge or a banker would ask. If you confront her before vows, she said, you make truth part of the ceremony. If you wait, you guard her day, but you teach yourself that silence buys love. I tasted iron. What would you want if it were me? I asked. The truth before I bind myself, she said, without blinking. I drafted a message to Maya. Need 5 minutes before the processional. No audience. Just us. Then I deleted it. I typed, I love you. Deleted that too. Priya touched my sleeve. I can airplay to the coat room screen if he crashes the conversation, she said. Only if you nod. I imagined the images blooming on a small monitor, not a ballroom projector. Private power. A violinist wandered past, practicing a scale that felt like a ladder. I checked my bank app again. The loan's most recent payment had cleared yesterday from an account ending in 0621. Jordan's account ended in 0621 on his wedding website registry contributions, a casual vanity I'd mocked. Aunt Ruth's phone vibrated. She showed me a text from Maya. Where are you? Are you okay? My thumbs hovered. I typed, Chapel corridor. Need to see you now. She replied, on my way. Jordan says you're overwhelmed. The word landed like a net. Overwhelmed people are easy to fold into closets. I stood in the corridor and pictured us at 12, Pinky swearing to say the hard stuff first. My tears had finally cooled. I wasn't crying from fear anymore. I was crying for the version of us that trusted procedure. The door handle turned with a slow, inevitable click that sounded like judgment arriving. Maya entered in a robe, hair pinned with baby's breath, eyes searching. For a second, the years stacked. The kid who built cardboard castles, the woman about to wear a vow. What's wrong? She asked, shutting the door. Aunt Ruth stayed by the coats. Priya faded toward the screen. I handed Maya my phone, open to the folder labeled Truth. She scrolled, color draining, then flooding, then settling in a resolve I recognized from exams she aced without sleep. Alex, she said slowly, put the phone down. She took my hands, squeezed hard. I can explain. Explain the HR call taped at 11:40, I said. Explain the DMV photo, the notary, the loan in my name. Explain Jordan's decision that I was your support system he needed to control. Her chin trembled. Please, she said, don't do this before the ceremony. Aunt Ruth coughed a tiny, pointed cough. Maya glanced at her. Ruth, please, she added, as if civility could requisition silence. I felt 20 again, learning that being gentle and being honest are not twins. Did you sign my name? I asked. She flinched. No, she said then, not exactly. The words perched on a ledge between truth and survival. Jordan's shadow darkened the frosted glass panel in the door. He didn't enter. He lingered like a weather system, gathering. Maya saw him too, and her voice sharpened. Alex, I was drowning, she said. My mother's medical bill hit the same week as your offer. Jordan said. She stopped. He said he'd keep you close until I was steady. I pictured steadiness redefined, a tether wrapped twice around my throat. We planned to tell you once we could pay it down, she whispered. I signed a letter acknowledging you as an authorized household member for mail. I didn't forge your signature. Her mouth formed a new apology, then closed as the door began to open. Jordan eased the door open with that boardroom smile he wore like sunscreen. He didn't look at Priya. He looked at the mirror beyond us, rehearsing who he needed to be. Everyone's asking for photos, he said lightly. Maya, babe, they're waiting. His tone made waiting sound like loyalty. Maya's hands were cold in mine. I lifted my phone, thumb poised over the gallery. We asked for 5 minutes alone, I said. He drifted closer anyway, a tide ignoring sandbags. Priya cleared her throat. I'm here for logistics, she said, tapping her lanyard. And evidence management, if necessary. The word evidence finally pulled his eyes. He glanced at the coat room screen. Blank for now, a square of potential light. What's this? He asked, still pleasant. Aunt Ruth stepped forward, posture like a verdict. A timeline, she said. Tuesday, May 23rd, 11:40 p.m. 11:41 p.m. 11:43 p.m. Your voice, Alex's rescinded offer, the loan inquiry. Jordan's mouth didn't tighten. It relaxed, as if clarity comforted him. We helped her mother, he said evenly. We kept you close because you're fragile when you're alone. I am not fragile, I said, surprised at my own calm. Priya lifted her phone. With a swipe, she mirrored it to the screen. The waveform of the hot mic audio pulsed blue. In the corridor's hush, Jordan's recorded voice filled the room again. He'll be fine where he is. My chest felt like it had a zipper I couldn't find. You don't get to manage me without consent, I said. You don't get to borrow my name to build your life. Maya flinched. Please, she whispered. We were drowning. Aunt Ruth's gaze stayed on Jordan. You found a lifeguard and put a rock in his pocket. Jordan tilted his head, considering a new angle. I assumed you'd do what you've always done. Support, he said. We planned to fix the loan. It's current now. My phone buzzed, a bank push. Payment received 8:12 a.m. Account ending 11:49. He'd paid before sunrise to preempt my rage. Alex, Maya said, voice small. I owe you everything. She meant gratitude. I heard a promissory note I hadn't signed. Priya held my eye, waiting for my nod to launch the rest. Last chance, Jordan said, finally letting the mask show its metal. Be smart. Be family. Then Jordan stepped fully inside, locking the door with a quiet click. Family doesn't forge consent, Aunt Ruth said, the syllables clean as glass. Priya lifted her finger. The coat room screen bloomed with the email header. Contract release, 11:41 p.m. HR at Blakeside. Org. Routed through a relay that matched the venue's IP from that night. Next, the DMV photos metadata, Midtown branch, 3:26 p.m. Maya's shoulder bathed in window light. An envelope corner stamped by a notary whose seal number we could zoom. That's not a signature, Maya said, voice shaking. It's an acknowledgement form. Household authorizer, not a forged sign. Priya tapped. The loan application appeared. My driver's license digits visible. The checkbox next to cosigner, unselected but authorized recipient, toggled on. Jordan tried to step between us and the screen. You're not lawyers, he said. You're gossiping with gadgets on a sacred day. He put a hand on my shoulder, squeezing the exact muscle people squeeze to make you compliant in photos. I shrugged him off. I'm a library tech, I said. I believe in records. I opened the credit alert from 11:43 p.m., the one I had ignored 2 years ago because grief and embarrassment make cowards of careful people. You didn't trust me to choose, I told Maya. You arranged my life like furniture so you could reach your shelf. Tears slipped from her careful liner. My mother's bill was $18,622, she said. They gave us 10 days. She looked at Jordan, then back at me. He said keeping you nearby would keep me steady, she confessed. He made it sound like love that planned ahead. Jordan exhaled, exasperated with the inefficiency of feelings. We're here now, he said. Ceremony in 30 minutes. You can either help or sabotage. Aunt Ruth inhaled. There's a third option, she said. Pause. Priya nodded. I can delay with a first-look mishap, she offered. 15 minutes. You two decide without him. Maya's ringless fingers twisted in her robe tie. I thought of our 5-count ritual, the one we abandoned for diplomacy. Jordan reached for the door, but I stepped in front of it first. The corridor clock ticked toward noon. Priya whispered into her headset. The planner's voice crackled back, buying us 15, then 20 minutes with the gentlest of white lies about a veil snag. The violinist switched to a looping prelude nobody would notice repeating. Maya sank onto a bench, the robe puddling at her ankles. I'm ashamed, she said. I told myself I had good reasons. Aunt Ruth sat beside her. Good reasons can still make you a thief, she said, not unkindly. I stood with my back to the door as Jordan knocked once, then 3 short times, then stopped. Power hates waiting. Do you want to marry him today? I asked, knowing he chains the people who keep you upright. Maya stared at the floor, at a scuff that wasn't there until 1,000 anxious shoes invented it. I wanted safety, she said. He offered a plan. Priya pulled up the payment history. This loan is current, she said, but it ballooned with late fees last year. Someone skipped payments in September and January. I pictured my January overtime, the flu season that ate my sleep, the week I couldn't make rent on time. A new shame surfaced. How my private scramble had funded someone else's calm. The planner knocked softly. We need to know, she said, apologetic. Guests shifted in pews. Whispers rose like a small storm. Jordan's college friend walked past the glass, peeking, smiling a smile that belonged to a different day. Maya lifted her head. I can't say vows while hiding theft, she said. Not to myself, not to you. She wiped her eyes, careful not to smear the makeup an artist had promised would survive tears. I need to postpone. The word thudded like a dropped book. Aunt Ruth nodded once, relief threaded with pain. Priya messaged the planner. Decision made, delaying with announcement in 5. Outside, Jordan's voice spiked, arguing with a schedule only he believed could be bent by will. My phone buzzed again, a new text from Jordan. Do this and I will bury you with kindness in public. I turned the screen toward Maya, and she finally stood. The announcement was mercifully simple. The ceremony will begin later than planned. Thank you for your patience. In practice, patience is a crowd sport. Some guests became coaches, others referees. Jordan paced the anteroom, jaw flexing, then emerged to shake hands and deliver calm assurances. He was good at that, turning a fire drill into a tour. Aunt Ruth and I took Maya to a small bridal suite where the air smelled like hairspray and lilies. Priya stood guard at the door with the poise of someone who has managed celebrities' meltdowns and lived to deliver proofs. Maya called her mother and told her the truth. The line went quiet, then filled with small sounds, breath, a tissue, the language of families who have counted pills and pennies together. I'm sorry, Maya said, again and again, until her mother said, be better, not sorry. We drafted a plan. First, a written statement for the planner to share privately with key family. Postponed today, new date TBD. Second, a repayment plan, notarized, with me as the harmed party but not the jailer. Third, an apology letter, in ink, recorded for memory, not for social media. Fourth, legal advice. Aunt Ruth called an acquaintance at a legal aid clinic and left a message. Then we walked back to the corridor together. Jordan waited by the chapel door, his smile now an artifact rather than a face. You're humiliated, he told Maya softly, as if naming her feeling might let him own it. You can fix this by walking out there. Maya met his eyes. We're postponing, she said. We're writing what we did to Alex, and we're fixing it before we celebrate. His mouth pressed into a line. You're letting your steady friend run your life now, he said. She shook her head. No, she answered. I'm finally running mine. He looked at me like I had moved his chess piece without permission. You'll regret this, he said, and for once, the room gave him no applause. We exhaled, but exhale is not the same as relief. Days followed like honest books. Every page with page numbers, no tricks. We returned the tuxes, reboxed favors shaped like tiny lanterns, canceled the after-party deposit with a fee that made us all wince. Jordan sent a single email, civil, cold, about logistics, then nothing. Maya met with a therapist and a financial counselor. 2 new calendars bloomed in her phone. Aunt Ruth and I met at the bank with a notary. We signed a repayment agreement that acknowledged the loan's origin, set a schedule, $600 on the first of each month, extra toward principal when possible, outlined by the counselor in clear lines olderized love. I asked for no interest. I asked for boundaries. Maya wrote the apology letter in ink, her hand cramping at paragraph 3. I wanted to keep what I loved by controlling the person who gave it to me, she read aloud, voice steady. I confused steadiness with convenience. I stole without stealing a signature. We put the letter in my fireproof box, alongside my passport and my mother's ring. Priya sent me candids from the coat room, none of which would ever go online. Each one proof that a near wedding can be as formative as a wedding. Truth over choreography, she texted. Aunt Ruth underlined a line in her own notebook and tapped it twice. I still cry when I pass the venue, which surprises me less now. I'm not crying because my best friend almost married the wrong person. I'm crying because I almost let the cost of our friendship remain invisible, payable only in my silence. Older viewers ask in comments what they should do when love demands a secret. This is my answer. Count to 5. Say the truth, then act with paperwork. Keep receipts, literal and emotional. Don't confuse kindness with consent. If someone calls your steadiness a resource to manage, ask them who owns the ledger. And if the truth threatens a beautiful moment, remember beauty survives postponement better than it survives fraud. So, would you have pressed play on the evidence before the vows?